Hey everybody, welcome back to the CirdecSongs channel and another CirdecSongs chat. As always, I would appreciate it if you would subscribe to my channel, like the video, and leave comments. And you're going to want to leave comments today because, for one reason, I'm not going to do very much talking, which is going to be great. But for the second reason, we're going to talk about an upcoming music extravaganza. And one of the people in charge is Mr. Tom Palmieri. He is on the East Coast. You can tell me where if you want to. But he's going to have a little festival coming for you in our area. Tom, how are you today?
Doing well. How you doing?
No major complaints. All is well. Looking forward to getting out in your direction. Why don't we tell the boys and girls what it is you're behind and what's going to happen?
So I'm kind of wearing it on my chest for those who can see it.
Nice
This is
plug.
the shirt from 4 years ago. Um, so it's Progstock. It is an annual festival. It's a weekend long. It happens in early October, usually on what we refer to, at least still, as Columbus Day weekend. Some people call it other things, but
Yeah,
it's that particular weekend on the calendar, always fashioned by the second Monday in October. That's how that day is determined. So this year it's October 6th, 7, and 8.
okay.
And it's in New Jersey. That's where I am, and that's where the festival is. So this year it's in the town of Rutherford, New Jersey. Um, for those who are students of history, whatever history we have. Um, the last 6 years that we were doing Progstock, starting in 2017, we did it in the town of Rahway, New Jersey, which has a very nice vaudeville era theater there. And we were there every year on their stage, except for the COVID year in 2020 when we did a virtual festival, which we still used one of their buildings for, but we brought the audience in virtually rather than in the room.
Gotcha.
And this year, though, we've made the first move to a new location, which we hope to be ours for a while now. And that is another vaudeville style theater with some changes and pluses and some interesting additions. And Rutherford is the town, again, for those who are students of New Jersey. For whatever reason, someone might have
I've
wanted
yet to
that.
achieve my degree in New Jersey, so
Well, yeah, good luck with that. It helps to have a vowel at the end of your name because we're very Italian out here. But
I got it.
right,
So I'll have to go back and work on that real quick.
yes, right, right. But Rutherford is the neighboring town to the town of East Rutherford. That makes sense, right?
I'm a football
Um,
fan, so I know that
right.
one.
But East Rutherford is where the Meadowlands is, right?
Yeah,
And that's where the current MetLife Stadium, what used to be called Giant Stadium or Jet Stadium, depending upon who was playing there.
it's going to be
And
Aaron
it's
Rodgers
that's
Stadium, I think, this year.
well, hey, they're paying him enough to join the team, aren't
This is
they?
true, but I don't want to get sidetracked. We'll focus
did
on this, then
did
we'll get
did
back in.
someone double check his salary anyway? So but yes, so that town is right near us, and so it's a fairly popular area. A lot of people know about it. And the thing about it too is that this is the first year in a brand new venue. So for some things, for a fair amount of things, it's kind of like rewinding the clock to 2017 when we were getting started
All right.
for the first year. I mean, some of the stuff is obviously oiled, other stuff is brand new, and we'll see what surprises await us.
That's fair. That's fair. How difficult it is it? Well, let's do how difficult is it on two levels because I was in the Air Force, as the back wall would indicate, and I was
Hmm.
in the public affairs office. Basically, we handled the media and civilian relations and air shows. And I know how much work goes into putting on an air show every year. I don't know. I'm sure you don't have a necessary comparison, but how long and how hard do you have to work on putting together a music festival?
So to full disclosure, no one at our event is going to be any altitude above the ground. So right away, at least I don't think so.
No,
I
no, not by
don't.
machine anyway. Well,
No, I don't think there's any any wires that people are going to be hanging from or anything. No,
not so
but
much for the pyrotechnic show.
right, right. Every contract with every venue always says no pyrotechnics, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
none.
yeah.
Yes. So yeah, I would say yeah, you're right. It's tough to compare because each thing, anything that anyone does that has other people at it, no matter how small, medium, or large, it's a large endeavor because
Right,
there's always kind of like this starting or subsistence level that any event has to get to, no matter what's on the other side,
right.
right? So it's tough. From our perspective, I could say what I know about planning and running a music festival. It's something that is never not being planned. So
Yeah,
it's constantly. We've been thinking about next year since the middle of this year,
makes sense.
because you get to a point where yes, you have to focus down in a span of time and say we're only focused on getting all the stuff done for this year's event, we're pre-thinking about stuff for the following year. Sometimes we're deciding are there bands or performers or artists or whatever that we want to ask about potentially that far in the future, so they could plan it into their touring schedules if possible, figure out things of that nature. But when it comes down to the current year, it's a multi-month endeavor. You know, I don't know how other festivals may answer this question, but we like to have the basic skeleton of our intended lineup kind of by November or December of the year prior. So
Makes sense.
we'll get through this year, not early October, and then by the end of this calendar year, we want to have a basic skeleton in mind of what 2024's lineup would look like. That doesn't mean it's in concrete. It doesn't mean that it doesn't have changes or additions. It just means that we have some basic ideas, maybe as the themes or the way the skeleton is going to go. Other times, if people knew about last year's festival in the 2022 edition, we actually had some artists attend the festival in kind of a stripped down, either solo or unplugged capacity, to do a short set
Right.
as a primer for what they were going to come and do this year with a full band. So we knew that far in advance that at least a small, like 3 or 4 bands were going to come this year. So anyone who was at the festival last year knows that Matt Dorsey came and did his solo material with himself and a laptop, which he then went on to do at the Marillion Weekend, which was a really good show.
Nice.
Dave Kersner came with Fernando Perdomo, and they did a little thing together to preview what they're going to do this year. And so did Evership, but unfortunately Evership was not able to come to the festival this year.
Okay, gotcha. And since we're talking about lineups, can you run us through some highlights? Who's going to be there?
Sure. Yeah, I can kind of run through this. You imagine by now I've been through this a million times, so I don't think I have to refer to a cheat sheet. But
I won't get mad if you do, but
yeah.
I'm sure you're familiar with it.
What I'll do is I'll kind of quickly go through what the performers on the main stage are, and then there are a lot of ancillary things going on during the festival as well, because it's both a music performance festival and art exhibits and a vendor room and kind of a convention feel. So there's other stuff going on too. But the festival starts technically, the doors open at 4 p.m. on Friday, the 6th of October. And the first performer on stage is going to be the powerhouse back-to-back bands of Ad Astra and the Travis Larson Band to start out what we're calling the Prog Fusion Day. Gotcha. At Progstock 2023. And I know you recently spoke to Joe from Ad Astra. Yeah. So that's going to be a great little double shot in the jaw to get things started. And then in the evening, our headliner for Friday evening is another dose of wonderful fusion, and that's the Mahavishnu Project.
Nice.
And a shout out to Greg Bendian, the powerhouse behind that band. He's the drummer and the founder of that band. He was with us last year actually as the core, the anchor position to put together Rachel Flowers' band that performed with us last year. So that's great. So that's Friday. We do start in the afternoon. There are activities going on earlier we can talk about later.
Okay.
On Saturday and Sunday resemble each other. They're full days. The doors will open at about 11:30 each day on Saturday and Sunday. Saturday is our American Original Prog Day, so all the bands relate to that theme. It'll start out at noon with a little opening set by our really good friend and a wonderful friend personally, Eric Norlander, doing a nice solo set on whatever keyboards he wishes. And that will lead into Chicago's Osceola Cry, which will, I think, be a cup of coffee for everyone to wake them up in the morning. I think you're probably familiar with them, and that will be a good sock in the face to wake everybody up. The next act in the mid-afternoon will start with an opening set by everyone's good friend Randy McStein, doing his solo material. Everyone knows that Randy his flag has been flying super high of late.
Oh yeah,
going out on tour.
I had the pleasure of speaking to him a few months ago, just before he went out with the Porcupine Tree.
With Tree, yeah, that's a really so many people are so pleased that this is happening to him, and quite frankly, many of us
think he's such a nice human being. So
it could have happened to him years earlier. He was so ready. It was not even funny, and then that will lead into the Matt Dorsey Band, which is a great all-star band that's been put together. As I said, Matt came last year and did the solo material to expose it to the world by himself, but now he's put together a really all-star band. Randy's in that band, Andrew Collier's in that band, so and Matt's own brother is on drums, so it's going to be great. And then the evening headliner spot, if you will, it will start out by a blistering short solo set performed by the woman without whom Progstock does not happen, Ms. Rachel Flowers.
Lovely, lovely.
And again, she can play the piano and anything else that she asks for. And that will lead into a really big, important set that's unique that the Dave Kersner Band is putting together. And that's going to start with Dave doing a lot of his about to be released new solo material, as well as some callbacks to other stuff in his repertoire. But then the whole second part of this set is going to be a presentation of Sound of Contact's Dimension album for its 10th anniversary. That's going to be great with an all-star band that he's put together. Album. So that's going to be awesome. And then Sunday is our International Prog Day. So it will start out at noon with Dave Bainbridge and Sally Muneer. And any people who follow either of those people or their work together, people know Dave Bainbridge and his work a while back with Iona, his work with the Straubs, and also his current work with Life Signs, another band that's on our future list to bring. But this will focus on a lot of his solo work, as well as other work that he's done with Sally. Sally Muneer, an angelic voice, a great multi-instrumentalist herself, and she also happens to have the great fortune of being the daughter of Carrie Muneer of Gentle Giant fame. So they promised to throw a couple of neat surprises into their set.
That's a nice
legacy. I haven't said enough already.
Yeah, nice legacy move right there. I like that.
Sure. And then in the mid-afternoon, our great friends from the Great White North will come down. Mystery will be here to present their current album this year, which is getting all sorts of appropriate accolades for being a really great addition to their discography. And then our headliner position at the end of the night will start with a solo performance by the man, the myth, the legend, the unbelievable Patrick Moraz, who will do, again, whatever he wants on the piano or whatever we got him. And then that will lead into the final set of the festival, which is coming all the way from Down Under, the newly reunited in a little over a decade now, Unitopia.
Oh, very nice.
Which, for those who have been watching and following, of course, the stalwart members, Mark Truack and Sean Timms will be there. John Greenwood, their guitar player from England. Steve Unruh, right here from Rhode Island. But when they put their album together, their latest album, Seven Chambers, they got quite a rhythm section on that recording. Some notable names, specifically Chester Thompson on drums and Alfonso Johnson on bass. So, it's like Weather Report goes down under.
Yeah, but they're up and comers. Yeah,
yeah, right, exactly. Now, Alfonso couldn't work out the schedule for touring, so as their touring bass and stick player, they have Don Schiff, who is amazing, person to be in the band and an alumnus of the festival because he was with us a few years back when Rocket Scientists played their show with us, with him and Eric Norlander. And of course, Chester Thompson will be there on stage.
He's one of my favorites.
So it's going to be, that's the lineup of the stage acts. That's just the stage acts. That's not talking about all the other things that go on starting Friday morning right through Sunday and even starting before the festival begins on Thursday night.
Oh, nice. Something tells me I'm going to have a very busy weekend. I don't know. better make sure I've got my walking shoes on for
Sure.
Got to come in handy. So
just bring a bedroll.
Yes,
you'll be fine.
Yes, definitely gonna need a bedroll. But I'm a veteran. I can sleep anywhere. It's not a problem. That's not a big deal. You've got quite the lineup going, and you've also mentioned that you have a new venue. Now, how do we go about breaking in a new venue before you have all these artists and their idiosyncrasies come onto your stage?
That's a great question. Like I said, some of this year harkens back to what it was like in 2017 as we were gearing up for the very first edition of the festival at the theater in Rahway. And, this theater is, I've answered a few questions from a few people over the last few months about how this whole process works, and I'll try to give it to you in highlighted, distilled format. It's basically, we ran into a problem earlier this year, a little later than one would normally want, to know that we were going to have a scheduling issue. And we usually don't. We don't normally have them, but a little bit of a miscommunication and a kerfuffle happened that I don't really want to get into too much of the details of. But suffice it to say that in mid-April, we didn't have a venue within which to have Progstock 2023.
Yikes.
So gears immediately shifted to taking attention away from these other priorities we were working on to move forward on them, and instead to, hey, if we don't have a venue, we don't have anything.
Right.
So a search was begun, and it's a search that picks up from prior years where we had also been looking at whether or not there were potentially some other locations that we had to keep in mind or do some advanced research on. And I actually went through 3 or 4 of those, found one of them, and went and saw it, and was fairly down the road. But then one of our heaviest supporters of the festival, one of what we call our 5-year patrons, people who have bought into 5 years of the festival and all in one go and have an assigned seat with their name on it in the theater. They tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Hey, there's this venue in our town that we live in that we thought about telling you about last year, but they weren't quite ready. And it's a venue that has been newly reawakened. It had been defunct for well over a decade and was taken over by some new people, and now started to look like it was ready to go." So I went and took a look at it, and I got to tell you, from the day I went in there, that evening I said yes, and hoped that they would say yes, and they did say yes. So that was that taken care of. But then it began to, okay, how do we map our festival onto this new theater? What do we have to change? What do we have to get them to do? What do we have to change on what we're doing? And that was the next 4 to 6 weeks of getting all ironed out. So that's why the tickets only went on sale in June this year instead of May. But hey, we got it solved. And in a lot of ways, I'll say this: the new venue will present us with the opportunities to do things that we were never able to do affordably in the prior venue. I want to say that the prior venue was absolutely spectacular. A lot of people loved it. We loved it. We loved the crew there. We loved being there. It was a great old building, and we became very accustomed to it and with it. But sometimes change has to happen, and this new one allows us to have extra spaces that we can use to run multiple things in different rooms and spread ourselves out a little bit and have a lot more room to do things. So we're going to do as many of those as we can take on this year. We're not going to boil the ocean all in one year. But over time, as we're in this venue, if we stay there, we'll add more and more dimensions to what the festival provides.
Okay. You talk about the main stage. How many stages do you plan on? Well, you've already got it set up. How many stages will you have up there?
Yeah, so one of the things that's not changing, and probably won't ever, is that Progstock is a single stage, a single performance at a time event.
Gotcha.
So it's not meant to have multiple stages with anything overlapping. Now, it could be in the future that there's multiple stages that are used to be able to do multiple performances with a shorter gap between them. But right now, we're not doing that. Only the larger theater stage will be used for our reserved seating musical performances. But there are other spaces in the theater that will be used for other things. There'll be a separate room for meet and greets and for the dealers to be there so that vendors can show their wares. There will be an art gallery where multiple fine artists will be in attendance. That's a great thing to mention. We have quite a cast this year, so
nice.
and we hope it to grow. We took a big step up this year, maybe more next year. So of course we have our returning champion, Paul Whitehead.
Okay.
People who may know him from having done the artwork for some of the most classic Genesis albums back in the day, as well as Van der Graaf Generator, and of course Fernando Perdomo's albums in the Out to Sea collection. He's been with us for a number of years now. He will be there with his gallery, and we also have a special event that he will be hosting on Sunday afternoon in between performances in one of the cinemas that are in the theater. That's right, I said there are cinemas in the theater.
Very nice.
With seating and the screen and all that. And that will be showing a documentary that he produced and released earlier this year about his life and his work. So that's Paul Whitehead. And then also returning to us from last year is our pumpkin sculptor, Dean Arnold, who is world-renowned because he's been on the Food Network and other places as a judge for things like Halloween Wars and also some of the shows associated with doing very advanced pumpkin carving and sculpting. He'll be there. Seemed nice. Appropriate for October, to do something with pumpkins.
Makes sense.
Right, especially in New Jersey. And the last one is a more recent addition, and we love her to death for doing this, and that is Annie Haslam will be in the house, the voice of Renaissance that people know. As an amazing singer, she is also an extremely talented painter. And so she calls herself an intuitive abstract expressionist, and she will be bringing that gallery with her to the festival.
That sounds like my kind of art right there.
Yeah, it should be. I love it. I've actually bought one of her pieces in the past. I think at Yestival back in 2014 when she was showcasing her wares there.
Nice. So,
Um,
sounds like I
so
need to
so
clear out
they
some wall space.
yeah, perhaps maybe a credit card or two.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah. So we have the fine art stuff going on. We're going to have some other little things. We're going to have Michelle Moog will be there because the Bob Moog Foundation is always at the festival, and we always support that organization through auctions and other sorts of fundraising. And she will be doing a reading from the biography of her father, the great Bob Moog. Um, and we're also going to have a special little event that we just added. Literally, it's hot off the presses. You're the first person I'm talking to about it, and we're
Oh,
going
here
to
we go.
talk about it a little later. And this is a small TED Talk, if you will. He and I have been calling it that because that's what he has done it as in the past. This is a gentleman who is an intellectual property attorney and an attorney for a lot of musicians up and down the coast as well as in the country, across the country. A gentleman by the name of Ron Beanstock, who some
Okay.
people know. And he's going to give a small presentation for those people who are interested in understanding how music publishing works and how musicians can make sure to represent themselves properly so that they're never, ever, ever, cheated out of their money for being
That's
publishers of their own material. So
that's
he'll be
huge.
doing a special little seminar on that. And then, of course, there's the thing that we do outside the building. We've ever since the second year of Progstock and even in Rahway, we had an outdoor presence as well. And part of that was to add some color and flavor in between the performances where people would go out into the city and perhaps have some food, some coffee, a drink, and then perhaps, still be near some music.
Sure.
But it's also meant to attract people from the outside who can walk by and wonder what the heck's going on in that building over there. Maybe I'm interested, right?
Right. Right.
So this year we have something similar. The new venue happens to have an outdoor courtyard or plaza right in front of the front doors. Think of it as a street that used to be there but was turned into a pedestrian walkway. So now it's very safe, and it's also made for people to congregate.
Nice.
And so we'll have a musical presence out there that will be hosted by Robert Schindler, otherwise known as Roby One, out there on the internet. He promises to have at least 8 keyboards and a keytar already
Good
set
Lord.
up and ready to go, and other places for instruments to plug in, so anyone can go with him and jam anytime they like. And a lot of things happen out there that become the moments that are special at Progstock that only
Sure.
happen
Sure.
there and only happen if you're there. So
Yeah, the best music often happens by accident. So
yes,
that makes a lot of
yes.
sense. And I was kind of fixated on the TED Talk, as we call it right now, because people, even outsiders, need to know how publishing works and why the musicians you see aren't as rich as you think they are. Because how you see some guy who played, in a theater or in an auditorium of 20,000 people, and he drove home in a Honda Civic, that kind of thing. They don't quite, they don't
or
always
or
grasp that.
or got a ride home. Yeah.
Right, exactly. or
Exactly.
just called an Uber and went home that way. That's
Right, right.
that would be really interesting. Before I
Yep.
lose the thought, how do folks go about getting tickets for this here thing?
Oh yeah, there's that little
Just
detail.
a small
Yeah.
detail, yeah.
Yeah. So we always keep everything, the best place to go for all information, up to date, and access to understanding our ticket packages and how you buy them. Everything starts and ends at progstock.com. Okay, so that's our website. We keep that happily up to date. We do social media pushes on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and the like,
Right.
and we're always expanding that, but that's where you go. And if you start at progstock.com and go to our tickets link in the navigation menu, it will tell you what's available, what the prices are, and give you a link to go directly to our box office. So everything can be bought online. You can pick your seat in the theater. Currently, you can buy tickets for a 3-day pass for the entire weekend, all in one shot. You get some nice perks for buying it all up front. You get a poster, you get a program that you can use for an autograph book, you get a wristband, and you can even buy what we call the Progducer version of the 3-day pass, which is you can think of as contributing a bit more to the festival
Sure.
than the typical price, but that allows you to get some more perks. You'll get first in line access to the meet and greets. You'll get priority access to other events as they occur. And right now, if you become a producer, you also get access to a special pre-festival event with Patrick Moraz that's happening on Friday afternoon at 1:30 in one of our cinemas, where he will show a presentation of a video that he's chosen and then do an intimate Q&A with people. So that's
nice.
available to those people who put a little bit more into their pass price. But you can also go there and buy individual single-day passes for Friday, Saturday, or Sunday.
If there's a theme you like, you can go that way too.
Exactly.
For our uninitiated in terms of festivals, you've been running these for a little while now. What's the best way for a fan to prepare for a festival and handle things once they get there? Because it can be a long day.
Well, it's not like you have to do like a one of those workout calisthenic programs to get ready.
That's true.
I'll give you a kind of a little bit of a comparison. So this past weekend, Labor Day weekend, we went down to something that is a recurring every year event for us, and that is Prog Day, which is a great outdoor festival down in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. And the weather was beautiful and in the mid 70s, low 80s on Saturday, and 90 plus degrees and humid on Sunday. So sometimes you're ready and sometimes you're not ready, right?
Right.
Make sure you have covering. Right? That's an outdoor festival and always a great blast to go to. Ours is an indoor festival, and that means most, if not all, of the major activities take place in a building. It's a theater. It has various performance rooms and spaces, a lobby, and of course the seated theater. So it's, be prepared for planning your time. We don't provide a whole lot of conflict, so there's not overlapping things, and they're just close in time maybe, but they leave you time to do something, and you don't have to make hard choices other than just choosing which things you might want to see and which things you might want to do, maybe something outside the theater or outside the festival even. That's up to you. So just recognize that activities start on Friday afternoon and go through till about midnight, and then it's all day Saturday, starting outside at about 10 in the morning, where we do some initial outdoor activities on Saturday and Sunday, and then lead you into the theater for the first show at noon. And so just pace yourself, decide what you want to do when you want to do it. There's plenty of food and beverages, both inside the theater and immediately outside and in the town itself. It's in the middle of a major sprawling downtown, so you're always a short walk away from various restaurants of your choice. A shout out to a couple of things that we're doing in the mornings on Saturday and Sunday at 10 a.m. That's become our listening party slots for those people who want to get a little bit of a start, but can sit outside with a coffee and kind of sit on a bench or whatever and relax. And on Saturday, we're going to be hosting a listening party by our good friends Mile Marker Zero, who have a new album they're coming out with shortly. So they're going to play some of that music that they haven't really released yet for everyone to hear what's coming for Mile Marker Zero. And then on Sunday morning at 10 a.m., we have New Jersey's own band Funhouse Mirrors, who's going to present their material. So that's going to be a lot of fun, and you get you started early, ease into it before you walk in and see all the vendor displays, maybe buy some merch from various artists.
Sure.
Keep in mind that every dollar pretty much spent at those merch tables goes to the artists behind it, because we as a festival do not take a commission from those sales. We help them sell it and get it done for them, but all we bother doing is covering the cost of sales tax and transaction fees that PayPal may charge. All of that money is meant to go directly to the artists. So anyone who's buying there, you're supporting the artists.
That's awesome, because that's the way to go these days. There aren't too many platinum records out there anymore, so
no,
we have to do this. We have to do it this way. Support the artists, people. That's all I'm saying, is
right.
Make sure these people can
Agreed.
stay on the road. I think we pretty much covered it here. I just want to get people's appetites wet for this kind of thing. Is there anything else you feel that people need to know?
Well, I mean, not so much about the particulars. We've gone over a lot of the details here. It's a bustling town center, so there's a lot to do. So if you want to share your time outside and do other things outside, there are things to do. Even for those people who want to turn it into a larger trip, New York City is a very short throw away if that's part of your plans. There's also, I think, the second largest mall in the country, called the American Dream Mall,
Nice.
in East Rutherford, like right over near the Meadowlands, which took many decades to build here, because that's how slow we are in New Jersey. but it's apparently got a lot of attractions. It has a Ferris wheel. It has a big, large Nickelodeon experience center. It even has an indoor snowboarding hill.
Oh, wow.
It's amazing. I've been in there once. But there's that. And then one of the other things that we learned is that the neighboring town of East Rutherford, which I've mentioned a few times, we're literally situated right on the border, right at the edge of the town of Rutherford, literally 500 feet away from the border with East Rutherford. And there's a train track in between. And if you cross those tracks, you're in the town of East Rutherford, which turns out on the very same weekend is hosting an outdoor Columbus Day festival. So the streets will be littered with food and drink from Friday through Sunday. So,
It's impossible to go hungry that weekend, is what you're saying.
Hungry or thirsty, to be quite frank. So we plan to have some other special things. There will be some food right in the theater and some restaurants that are bringing pop-ups right to the plaza outside the doors. And we're also going to work some deals with some local breweries so we can have some special beer. So
very nice.
There's that. And the other thing I would say, this is a general thing, progressive rock is an undervalued and underrepresented genre.
Agreed.
And even its extents. I mean, we try to work in the adjacencies, not just straight symphonic or art rock, but also into fusion and jazz and rock elements and other sometimes avant-garde elements to widen the tent a bit.
Right.
All of it is underrepresented and unappreciated. So everything that we do is about trying to support the art of making this music, to keep it alive, to keep the musicians going, and to breathe as much life as we can, to do our little part to raise the tide so that all the boats, not just ours, but other festivals and other artists that are catering to this genre, all can succeed and find audiences. So come out and support us if you can.
Yes, it's going to be fun. And as my mom used to say, Lord willing, the creek don't rise, I will be there. We can do our in-person type thing. This will be my second trip to New Jersey, but my first in almost 40 years.
My mother used to say that was the hell or high water, right?
Same thing. Same principle.
Same idea.
We are going to get this done.
That's right.
And I mean right now. But Tom, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to talk to us.
No problem. We're looking forward to seeing you, man. It's going to be great.
It's going to be a good time. I will talk to you soon. Take care.
Great.
Wait for it. Wait for it.